Hello everyone, Ray here. Exciting time again. Today I've got the brand new Huawei Mate 9 Pro here. If you are not familiar with this particular variant of the Mate 9, it's actually a Huawei branded Porsche Design Mate 9, and they are calling it the Huawei Mate 9 Pro. It shares the 5.5 inches curved Quad HD AMOLED display, 6GB of RAM with 120 gigs of storage, and of course it packs the amazing Leica optics. However, with a smaller chassis, Huawei still give it a 4000 mAh battery, and the problem is... Apart from that irrelevant concern, the Mate 9 Pro is incredibly thin, just 7.5mm thick at its thickest point. But don't forget the dual curve design on the front, and also the slightly curved but not as pronounced loop on the back. It is one of the slimmest phone I've ever held, but it's got 169 grams of weight. With the all-aluminum chassis, it feels premium. Huawei is also one of the very few manufacturers to get the right design for a dual-lens module. They've switched to an arguably ordinary but sophisticated design on the back this time around, unlike the tacky, futuristic look on the Nexus 6P or the Huawei P9. Meanwhile, build quality is top-notch. We've got a brushed aluminum finish on the back side of the phone, but a shiny reflective coating on top, which not only makes it look a bit different and unique, but also changes the texture of the metal body as well. The Mate 9 Pro feels like having a glass panel on the back rather than a metal unibody. Back on the front, we have a 5.5 inches dual curve display. Unfortunately, I do believe no matter which manufacturer launches a phone with a curved display, it reminds us Samsung. However, the loop here is not as pronounced as Samsung's offers, but it is indeed sleek and futuristic. The black model here is not just stealthy, but cool, mature, and privileged. It's not flawless, however. There's a plastic cushioning frame between the glass panel and the metal body. If we compare the Mate 9 Pro to phones like the Note 7, even the previous S7 Edge, or the Pixel and the Pixel XL, there are still rooms for improvement. But overall, it is a slim, curvy, metallic, yet smooth and comfortable phone to hold, with a gorgeous design. We also have to give Huawei some applause for the hardware they put on the Mate 9 Pro. The fingerprint sensor is the absolute fastest sensor I've seen. It unlocks in milliseconds. The IR blaster is another cool but rarer and rarer feature to have on flagship phones. The microphone is another surprise. It's not exactly on a par with the LG V20, but it's indeed impressive. It is crystal clear and the bass is rich. And here's the real mode. I'm now recording with the Huawei Mate 9 Pro. Oh, and the dual speaker setup, it shares a similar idea as the HTC 10 and the iPhone 7, but not as balanced. Nonetheless, a rich, decent pair of speakers. More on that in a minute. The good news is the Mate 9 Pro is running Android 7.0 out of the box, but Huawei keep disappointing consumers who are looking for a light and stock Android-like interface. What is that? Sorry. Is it a Pro, Mate 9 Pro, with those cartoonish app icons? Anyway, we are getting Pro laptops without even an SD card slot nowadays. The other good news is they've added an option to get our app drawer back, and it is indeed a feature-spec interface. The floating dock gives easy access to basic navigation and screen lock as well, but not particularly useful. The interesting one is how customizable the navigation keys are. Not only can we swap the position of the back and the recent tabs key, but also use the home button to get everything done as well. A single touch brings us to the previous action, while a swipe from the home key to either of the other two keys bring up the recent tabs page. But why would you need such a complicated navigation system with the dedicated keys hanging around and doing nothing? Here we've come to the real thing. The series of motion gestures, flip to mute and raise to answer calls are nothing new. But the knuckle drawing feature is impressive. The black magic separates touch speed with your fingertips and the knuckles without any ISO. Drawing alphabets like C for camera, M for music, W for weather, and E for browser. We can also capture irregular, circular, rectangular, partial screen captures with the knuckles, or even in a heart shape. And a single swipe right in the middle of the screen, boom, multi-window. Third-party app support's not bad at all. Scrolling along the timeline while watching YouTube videos or browsing the web is not a problem. Screen recording's also a rare but essential feature to have, in my opinion. Holding the power key together with the volume up key will give you access to this cool feature. Always on displays, also here, bought from Samsung. Unfortunately, the Mate 9 Pro doesn't respond to any kind of double tap to wake gestures. While the always on display is not customizable nor expandable, we have to unlock the phone to check out the notifications. But again, the super fast, super responsive fingerprint sensor. Speaking of responsive, the Mate 9 Pro is the king in processing power up to this point. We are talking a Kirin 960 processor backed with 6GB of RAM and a super fast UFS 2.1 drive. According to our standard apps opening speed test, the first round we launched the same apps on all the tested devices to get an idea in how fast or slow the phones run. The Mate 9 Pro almost catches up with the iPhone 7s. The 6GB RAM magic applies to the Mate 9 Pro. It switches between apps without any delay. It is buttery smooth. To make the long story short, it's iPhone-like experience. And it's undoubtedly the fastest Android smartphone right now. The GPU might be one of the downsides of previous models from Huawei, but it's not the case anymore. The Mate 9 Pro packs a newly developed Mali G71-based GPU with 8 cores, clocking at 900 MHz. It runs modern 3D games seamlessly smooth. The cameras, definitely one of the major selling points of this year's Huawei flagship. Again, the Leica dual-lens module produces 20 megapixels images in single-lens mode and 12 in dual-lens mode. But this time around it's backed with not only laser autofocus but also optical image stabilization. And the features bundled with this camera are crazy. We'll talk about them in depth in a second. First and foremost, the focusing system works well even in low light. It is quick but not an S7 killer. Those features, we are getting time-lapse, slow-mo, panorama, beauty, all that stuffs. Wait, what? HDR? The Mate 9 Pro lacks auto HDR. It's got a separated mode for high dynamic range photography, which means it's not necessarily the most easy to shoot phone on earth. Luckily we've got the most sophisticated light painting features here. We can shoot professional, creative photos with just a phone. Or it won't be a genuine review if we don't cover the monochrome feature on this Leica branded Huawei phone. It's making a huge difference. The black is black and the grayscale is much more defined. Back on the regular auto mode, it still features packed. We've got 3 color profile settings to modify the behavior of this camera. Vivid colors might be a bit too much for most cases, but smooth colors does make night scenes look even livelier than it actually is. The colors are popping a little bit more, but not over-exaggerated. It also increases the contrast ratio while reduces the digital noise effectively. I do recommend using smooth colors over standard colors for night scenes. It's a no-brainer. The key and new feature we've got, however, is the bokeh mode. Unlike the iPhone, we are getting flexible size on the aperture. From f16, literally no effect at all the way up to 0.95. f4 is the sweet spot. We are getting DSLR-like depth effect, but we can stay away from those ridiculous over-softened edges while shooting at 0.95. The last thing before we look at the image quality is manual mode. All the shutter speed, exposure, white balance, and the ISO are easily accessible. 20 megapixels with optical image stabilization and manual mode is the best combination on earth, with shutter speed set to around a quarter to half a second and as low as possible ISO. Images are clean and smooth, yet bright and clear. It is worth a mention, even in auto mode, the Mate 9 Pro tends to follow the as long as possible exposure time with as low as possible ISO theory. I've seen a quarter of a second shutter speed all the time in low light environment. It's doing a really great job in bringing in details in shadows while keeping the main object exposed properly. Look at the stars and the colors, the deep black sky as well. Video recording's also better than I've expected. Optical image stabilization's doing its job for sure. It shoots 4K as well, but frame drops here and there throughout the videos. The microphone again is not only crisp, but also directional. Overall, it shoots some of the best images, but the separated HDR mode is a fatal one. Video quality might not be the best, but we are getting some jaw-dropping light painting, bokeh and monochrome effect out of this camera. The display on the Mate 9 Pro is impressive. It's a 5.5 inches Quad HD AMOLED display. It's got a sharpness, contrast ratio, pure deep black and white color gamut like other modern AMOLED displays. The maximum brightness on this curved display, however, is not even on a par with the Pixel, and far away from the S7 Edge. The white balance though is pleasing to the eyes, a bit on the cooler side out of the box, but not much of a difference even when we put it alongside with the Pixel XL, and we are getting one of the most advanced white balance tuning setting inside the settings menu. Or the dual speakers, kind of. Do not expect stereo balanced audio like we've got on the Nexus 6P or Sony's flagships. They've got two genuine front-facing speakers. But as a whole package, the Mate 9 Pro offers rich, full yet crystal clear audio. The headphone jack, however, is disappointing. Not the jack itself, but the audio chip simply doesn't comparable to phones like the LG V20, HTC 10 or even the OnePlus 2T. It requires 3/4 of the volume to drive my Xperia 3 properly. It is on a par with other mainstream flagships including the S7 and the Pixel, so nothing special. Last but certainly not least, the battery life. The Mate 9 Pro's got a 4000 mAh battery inside a 5.5 inches chassis. It's amazing, but again. Anyway, we are getting the absolute longest battery life on any smartphone, thanks to that huge battery and the AMOLED screen. 65% of the battery is left after 4 hours YouTube videos playback with the maximum screen brightness. Meanwhile, the wall adapter comes with the Mate 9 Pro supports a terrific 22.5V quick charging technology. Despite the size of the battery, it gets a decent 58% charge in 30 minutes. Battery life's the absolute best money can buy. The Huawei Mate 9 Pro is got a gorgeous, slim, smooth and curvy metal unibody, the best processing power with 6GB of RAM, some unique but useless features. Some are really handy for sure, multi-window is the perfect example. It also delivers top-notch image quality with excessive features with the Leica optics. A really beautiful display, loud and rich speaker, and stunning battery life. It is not perfect, however. The display is not the brightest on earth, the cartoonish app icons are awful, and the audio quality comes out from the headphone jack could be better. That's all for today's video. Hope you all enjoyed watching our review on the Huawei Mate 9 Pro. More reviews like this are coming. Make sure you have subscribed to this channel and stay awesome. Once again, this is Ray. See you next time.